Okay, here's what I got so far. This is our application. It is running. It's a simple list showing a simple list. You can navigate to a new item screen by pressing the floating action button and enter the item's name and cost value, and then you can press save. It will be added to the list, and it is working with a room backend. It is saving in a room database. Currently the images are shown in a random manner. These are selected randomly, but now in this video I'm going to implement a bottom navigation, and for that we will need a sealed class that contains the list of items that we will have in our bottom navigation, and we will also implement navigation with it. So the items that this class contains, one of them is the route, one of them is the resource ID that specifies the title of that resource, the title of that route, and that screen, in fact. Another thing is the icon, because we will also need an icon, and I'm gonna import that as well. So I'm gonna add a field here. I'm gonna name it icon. Yes, and icon's type should be icon. Icon from the compose library. But it seems like we don't have such thing here. Icons dot outlined dot. I'm gonna find out this way the type of the resource that we will need. Outlined dot okay, outlined. Okay, I have no idea why this isn't showing up. Icons dot outlined.
Touch.
Icons dot outlined. Okay. For now, I'm gonna just leave a placeholder here, val icon, and let's make it integer. Later we can change it. So we add the icon as well. So the icon for profile is something like icons.outlined Android Studio is loading up. Person, it should be person. What? Seems like we need to import some dependency. And what is that a dependency for Android X Core? We don't have Android X Core. Okay, it's image vector. So its type will be image vector. We found the type that we need. Import image vector is from the compose library, compose graphics library. And for home, we have icons.outlined.home, it should be. And home is available from the same library, from the same package. We also have the new item will be there. We don't need to add an icon or screen for new item here. So we have also balance, as this is supposed to show us our balance in some screen. So balance, this type is screen, and home. Sorry, it's not home, it's balance, this one. R.string balance, and we create a resource type of balance, a string type named balance, and what's icon should be icons outlined. I hope I find something with the connection or relation to money, because it's supposed to be about money. Yeah, sure, we have money. Great. And what else we have? We also have settings. Class settings. And it's screen settings. My brother is typing here and making a lot of keyboard sound. I hope you like it. Our string dot settings. I create a string resource of settings, and its icon should be icons dot outlined dot settings. Yeah, fortunately we have an icon with this name. So now we have 4 items, and I'm gonna add them to my list of navigation items. Let's do that. It's a little bit tricky, but we're gonna do it. In the main activity class file, in fact, we're gonna create a button navigation, and the button navigation, let me check. Button navigation, so cost button navigation, I name it. This is a composable, by the way, composable, and this is a function. And inside it we will have a nav controller. We need a navigation controller. For now I create the navigation controller here. We might change it later. Well, nav controller by, remember, doesn't need by, remember nav controller. It gives us a navigation host controller, and we then create a button navigation. This is a composable. It has some parameters. We might want to skip adding those parameters. We only need to enter the content for it, and inside the content we can create our items with button navigation item, button navigation item, and button navigation item has 2 important parameters: selected and on click. So first we will have 4 items. We need to specify those items. So val items, I'm gonna use those items here. Those items, the items are in fact inside our sealed class, C screen. So it will be a list of these items. Screen dot balance, screen dot home, screen dot profile screen dot balance and screen dot settings. Okay, why is that error for? What is that error for? Does not have a companion object. This must be initialized. Okay, it needs to be an object. It needs to be an object. These are objects, not classes. We only have one instance of them. They will have a root, a string resource, and an icon reference. And after that, this will be fixed, probably. Not yet fixed. Classifier, oh, okay, it's fixed. It's gone. And now we should add those items to our bottom navigation. How do we do that? We need to iterate over those. You're typing too fast. I'm gonna iterate over these items for each. It's really fast. I get a screen here because any one of these is a screen. It's from the screen class.
You're typing like rainfall.
And after
you're typing sound.
And after that,
like rainfall.
For each of them, we're gonna create a bottom navigation item. It's my mood, actually. It's my mood. Okay, selected English, please. Selected. For selected, actually,
fancy.
We're gonna do a small calculation, do a small comparison, and say selected when this is selected, when
the sound of G,
the current item. We need to get the current item in every bottom navigation. Why do we do that? Because we want to compare its current root with the root that we have here. Yeah, the current root that is available in the backstack with the root that we are creating here, with the item that we are processing in our iteration. So first of all, we need current item, val current item, and then we say current item is we get it from nav controller, current backstack entry. Yeah, just that. I think nav controller can get current backstack entry, come on, current backstack entry, let me check. Arguments, current backstack entry, and by the way, we need to get it as state. Yes, current nav stack entry, we get it as state, and then we get the root from it. So current backstack entry this is a state. In fact, current get current backstack entry as a state, nav backstack entry, current backstack entry dot as a state, current backstack entry as a state. Yeah, get that. And in addition to current backstack entry, we need to extract the current root. Well, current root, current, we get it from the current backstack entry. Arguments, every backstack entry has some arguments, like the root that is given to it.
Yes, ma'am.
So the root arguments get string, Kotlin type safety, get a string, root, you need to get it with key root, and key root is a constant from the nav host controller class, key root. Okay, here in the selected one we say if current root is equal to screen dot root, yes. And in the onClick, we will tell our bottom navigation to navigate to the selected root. So we say current say nav controller dot navigate to this root. Which root? Screen dot root. And we also pop up the previous items in our backstack in order not to exhaust our backstack with a lot of unused entries. So we say nav controller pop backstack pop up to, if I'm not mistaken, pop up to, we say navigate to that, and actually this has a lambda. This has a lambda part that is called builder, and inside of it we can set parameters. Some parameters we can say pop up to, it's a parameter, pop up to nav controller graph start destination. We go to nav controller dot graph dot start destination. We go to the start destination. Also, we prevent creating multiple copies of the same destination by setting launch single top to true. Yeah, this will prevent us from opening this same destination multiple times on top of each other because it's the same. For example, if you are currently in the home destination and if you request the home screen by pressing the home button, it will not open a new instance of the home screen. It will just leave the previous one there, and you need to use that. So we created our bottom navigation here. There are some extra curly braces we need to get rid of. This is for the unclick. This is for our navigate. This is for the unclick lambda. This is for our bottom navigation item. Maybe you don't need this. Bottom navigation item. After bottom navigation, we have one curly brace for each. One for bottom navigation and one for cast bottom navigation. Okay. Let's rename this to main bottom navigation, and unclick, select it, unclick, bottom navigation, screen. Actually, we use the screen. What is this error for? Oh, icon is necessary. Icon is necessary for every bottom navigation. We need to also specify the icon. And the icon is something that we have saved in our screen subclass. So we say screen icon. That's it. It should accept it. Doesn't. Oh, it needs to be a lambda. It needs to be lambda. So we'll simply say we put that parameter inside the call to icon, which is in turn inside the lambda. So I say icon and screen dot icon. It's not that easy. We need to create a painter resource for it. Come on. Should work. Yes, it will work. Screen. The third form actually works. Icon and then content description. Yes, screen dot resource ID. String resource. We know that this is a string resource, so we use a string resource to extract the explaining text from that resource. Now we have our bottom navigation. We have our main bottom navigation. But before we use this bottom navigation, let's make sure that our nav items, our nav host is correctly created. I'm gonna check it out. I'm going to our composable that creates our composables. Home. One of them is new home, new item. One of them is profile. One of them is detail. And I'm gonna create some new ones. Composable. I'm gonna create one for balance and one for settings. We don't have them. Balance, we'll need an ID for it. This specifies type, argument, nav argument, list of nav arguments. Its type is nav type dot string. We import what happened here. Nav type string type. Oh, string type. It's called string type. Nav type string type. Okay. List of that. Composable. Composable has a body. It has a nav backstack entry. So backstack entry. Nav backstack entry. All right. We will need to get some arguments like the ID and then open a screen based on that. So let's say nav backstack entry dot arguments get int ID. Let's okay. Yes, it's the ID is some integer. Actually, we can just for now open a screen for balance and not care about its implementation details. So I'm gonna just make a call to balance. Seems like balance can be imported from somewhere. It's not the same thing we need. We need a composable for it. So I create a composable comp. Create a composable called balance. Balance. Let's call it balance screen in order not to mistake it with the balance sealed class. Balance screen. And this is just supposed to show a simple box with a text of balance. Nothing more. Let's also give it a background. No, not necessary. Comp, another composable for settings. So settings, screen, a box, inside the box a text, settings. Actually later, once we make sure that our bottom navigation is working, we can pass in some parameters for these composables, like the user ID or something like that, especially for balance. Alright, this was for balance. Let's create a composable for the settings root, and settings doesn't have parameters. It is just supposed to call balance screen. Sorry, what am I doing? Settings screen. Alright. Before we run our application, let's plug in our new bottom navigation to our scaffold. So here's the structure of our scaffold. As you can see, it has a bottom bar. Currently I'm using another bottom bar that is displaying this, but it's gonna change to bottom bar navigation. What was it called? What did we call it? Navigation button. Bottom navigation. Bottom navigation, main bottom navigation. You called it main bottom navigation. All right, now it's plugged in. We are ready to run our application. I hope that it displays everything correctly, and I'm sure I'm quite sure it will show the items in the bottom navigation with a default acceptable weight, so that they are distributed evenly in this area. So as the app is being built and launched, we can have a review here. We created our items, and no, it's not where we should be looking at. We have it in our main bottom navigation, and we have the nav controller. As you can see, it is stateful. It has some states like the nav controller, like items, and our items are subclasses of a screen. We are accessing the current backstack entry as a state. Why as a state? Because we need to be aware of changes to it. Maybe even if we don't get it as a state, our bottom navigation will work, but it's better to use the state type. We also extract current route from our nav backstack entry, because every entry has an argument, and one of the main arguments is the key route. The key route is in fact what we had here, what we are passing our composable when we are creating it. As you saw, we defined our nav host with a route, and this is the key route. In fact, one of them is profile, one of them is detail, one of them is balance, and so on and so forth. It's being installed. So for every item in the bottom navigation, we are comparing its route to the current route that is extracted in turn from our current backstack entry. If they are equal, it means that the current selected item is the one that we are processing. In fact, we have spotted the current selected item. Therefore, we should set this flag selected to true. We also have on click for every item, which determines what we are supposed to do when an item is selected. And here, when an item is selected, we navigate to a related screen. to the screen that is specified by the root field of the screen parameter. We also pop up the previous ones. As you can see, we pop up nav controller graph to the start destination, which essentially pops up and empties the previous destinations from the backstack entry, because we know that we don't need them anymore. And we also set launch single top to true, which will prevent us to open the same screen several times, so that when we press back we always return to the previous screen, to the same screen again and again. Seems like a bug, but in fact it's an expected behavior. Okay, our application is running as I predicted. The items in our bottom navigation are distributed evenly. Hopefully when I select one of them, it will be selected, highlighted, and the app will not crash. Oh, it crashed. I kind of expect this to crash. To check out the logcat, see what was wrong. Let's run the application again. I select one of them. Okay. We must call setGraph before calling getGraph. I have no idea what it means. Activity. Icon label. setGraph. getGraph. Okay, the thing is, I think we should pass in the nav controller to our main bottom navigation instead of using the one that we obtained from remember nav controller. Nav host controller. What is that? Nav host controller. My computer is just heating up and it's a little bit unresponsive. I should finish it soon. Main bottom navigation. So when do we call main bottom navigation? Hopefully we will have nav controller for it here. Yes, fortunately it has nav controller, so I can pass in the same parameter, nav controller. Alright, and the host itself has home, new item, several items. Alright, let's run it. Hopefully this will be fixing the previous error. I'm gonna minimize the section. I really need a bigger screen, but this works for now. Come on, build it. I'm checking out my nav host as the app is being built and installed. I have a nav host that has several routes: home, new item, profile, detailed, balance. And in almost every one of them, I'm making use of nav backstack entry, especially those that have some input parameter like the profile composable. We often use it to extract some information that is passed to our route. Come on. It's a little bit weird, just stuck in the install stage. Get a pause for now. Alright, we continue our video. The application is running on the emulator. I press one of these items, hopefully this will work. Home, the home screen, the profile. Oh, I think the profile doesn't match the route because I'm not passing the parameter for it. It needs to have some parameter. But the settings doesn't have any parameter, so it should work without any problem. Yes, as you can see, the settings is working. Back, balance will crash because we are not providing its required parameter of ID when we are calling it. So I'm gonna remove these parameters, these extra parameters from our routes for now. So for profile, I'm gonna remove it. Just make it simple. Okay. Profile balance doesn't need the ID parameter also. So when we are launching any of those things, nav host, we are creating a nav host, and each of our nav hosts opens up a composable. I think I can put the whole nav host inside a scaffold so that all the items, all the composable UIs that we see are inside our main screen. But it's not necessary for now. We are just concerned about the working of the bottom navigation. Also, for your bottom navigation, you can add an optional parameter of label, for which you can use the same string resource that you are using as the name of your root, as the name of your screen. It looks a lot of code, but it's even less than 500 lines, but hard to navigate. Nav controller. Okay.
نهار درسته یا نهار؟
Nahar.
نهار.
Current root. Selected. Unclick. Icon and label.
نهارم میاد.
Label. String resource. Screen dot string resource ID. And the label has to be inside the composable, has to be inside the lambda. Label unit. Text. We have to wrap it with the text. It really takes a long time to install. But in the previous run, you basically saw that it is working. So our bottom navigation is quite easy to implement. You just define a composable with the name of your choice, and inside it you will make a call to bottom navigation. It has a row scope. It is basically creating a row of items. You will need current backstack entry to keep track of the current backstack entry, the current item that has been navigated to. It's running again. Profile. There we go. This is the profile. Installing again. It really takes a big computer to record and to run software at the same time. And this is our label. Yeah, I was saying. And we get our current root from the current backstack entry, because current backstack entry has the list of arguments, and one of the main arguments to every entry is the key root, and key root is the name of the root that is always non-null, because it is this name that you give your composable, your root, your nav host composable when you create it, so it will always be non-null, like home, like settings, like profile. And then you iterate over your items, the list of your items for a screen, and you use every item to extract information like the name of that root, its icon, and its label. Alright, wow, beautiful. It has also a label now. I didn't know that. Settings, balance, profile, and home. Yeah, we are already in home. And because we have used the flag launch single tab, we know that it will open home only once. And if I press this button, the back button, it will exit the app and not go back to home again. There we go. Okay, that's it for button navigation and how we implement it in Compose. I will probably polish this app a little bit more and create the screens for settings, profile, and balance. But this was the topic of this video, and it was all about button navigation. Thanks for watching.